Hello, Sarah here. I'm here to have another conversation for the sake of ourselves. So today's conversation that I want to talk more on, and it's something that you have heard me reference little bits in the previous videos up until now, and it's something that I reference often because it's something that it gives me a place I source from. So it's the expression I often use, love wins the day. And for me, love wins the day is a place I really source from. It's a consciously created space that really is dear to my heart and is who and how I want to show up to as a human for myself and for the people around me. And I don't know, maybe, my kids will sometimes call me a hippie. I get offended by that. And maybe I am like from, some grassroots roots of, why can't peace and love reign free and love win the day? But like, I really want to dig into it in this because it's not just all rainbows and roses, and love winning the day is work. It's cultivation, it's tending, it's labor, and it's a labor of love. It's a labor of something meaningful. It's a labor of growth. It's a labor for you, for the environment you are, and for the people around you. Now, before I go in specifically to love wins the day, it's all based upon this idea of you actually have quite a say of what wins the day around you. You get to say what wins the day around you. And if love wins the day doesn't motivate you, inspire you, ignite you, have you want to do the labor of that to show up to that, that's fine. You get to say what's going to win the day around you, but I invite you into creating one specific thing, and it could be multiple, but something that you can ongoingly come back to and come back to and come back to, which is your North Star, which is your guiding compass, which does give you, you have this, relationship with yourself in hand, this, fantastic, beautiful, sacred relationship with yourself in hand. And now what do you say wins the day around you? Life often comes at us. Circumstances happen. Things don't show up the way we want them to, expect them to, wish they would. People don't act in ways that we want them to. Things can be frustrating, annoying. There can be, really cruddy things that show up in our life. And if we don't kind of set what's going to win the day, other things are going to vie for our attention, and they're going to win the day. Things that we don't necessarily want to win the day, our reactions to our reactions, our frustrations, our annoyances, our grievances, our upsets, our disappointments, like those things, very valid, have lots of information. You don't need to bypass them. You can meet them where they are. But do they need to win the day? Do they need to have the final say? Do they need to be the things you identify with or find yourself in or locate yourself in? You get to say what wins the day around you. You get to say who you are and what you are. So I invite you to take a real look of, what do you say that's going to win the day around you? If again, as I said before, I often like to use death as my best friend. If there I am on my deathbed and it's my final moments of my life, what do I want to have won the day around me consistently and reliably? What would I have wanted to invest it in and to have flourish around me? What would I want to have spent my time and energy and effort on? And, there's lots of things that we might want, and which is great. And we can tend to all of those things and get really clear. And we can have many, many things flourish around us at once because we're very multidimensional and multifaceted and can have lots of things flourish and be nourished around us. And we can expand and widen our attention and capacity span so that many things can flourish. And I would say, what would be your defining thing? What for you, I think it was, I forget who it was that I saw speak, and they were like, what would you want written on your gravestone? What would you want to be known as or valued as or an expression of? What do you want your life force or energy to go towards? And for me, what I always, I think, especially since I had kids, again, kids have been, being a mom and having children has been such a growth plan in itself. And it's really given me a pathway to true up to somewhere for myself and to really look at what matters to me. And like, I'm really fortunate that I really came from a conscious created space with my kids and with my family. And so I got to really learn and develop a lot. And so, in the early years of motherhood, I was really often looking at like, what is going to win the day? I was really clear. I didn't want my kids, I love you, mom. I love you, dad. I know you tried your best, but I didn't want my kids to have the childhood I had. I didn't want them to have the internal dialogue that I had, or to grow up experiencing some of the internal state that I was left experiencing. I really wanted my kids to have something different, to have something more, to have something connected and related. And I was really clear that with how I was raised, I had a lot of patterns. I had a lot of behaviors. I had a lot of things that, I didn't want to be outputted onto my kids. I didn't want my kids to learn those patterns and behaviors. So very early on, I created a plan, a commitment, what was important to me, a vision of what and who I wanted to be as a mother, and who and how I wanted my family to be and interact. And, perfect. It was not perfect. There were gaps and it wasn't fully fulfilled on, but it did give me somewhere to come back to and source myself from again and again. And, really underneath everything I created in those early years was this idea of love and connection, love and connection, love and connection, love and connection, love and connection. I read a lot about, the value of connection with brain and brain mechanics, and how, in ideal circumstances, when groups of human are raised in loving, nurturing, nourishing, connection-based environments, that it really does have our internal system build and grow to be in optimal health. So there were many reasons why I wanted that for my children, but most of all, I just really wanted them to have an internal dialogue of love and connection, and to know that they were truly loved, and to have a great relationship with themselves. And unfortunately, I did miss the mark at many times. Life got lifey, life got frustrating, life got at me, and my best version of myself didn't always show up. My favorite version of myself did not always show up. And I get to make peace with that ongoingly. But one thing that I did get to keep coming back from and coming back to learn and to grow from and to nurture and nourish myself and the environment around me was this idea of love and connection. And I went through a few challenging years in my boys' teenage life. My older few boys, when they were teenagers, there was a lot of upheaval and upset and discontentment, and a lot of life circumstances that were happening where I was not my favorite self coming forward. I was dealing with some, pretty serious injuries and a lot of pain and suffering and and one thing, I needed like a lifeline. I needed something that I could hold on to. I needed something that I could true up to again and again, because I wasn't happy with all of the noise winning the day. I wasn't happy with my pain winning the day. I wasn't happy with my frustrations winning the day, my reactions winning the day, all of my internal state winning the day. I really wanted love to win the day, and I really wanted access to that. And in the previously from that time, I'd built a pretty solid foundation with tools and resources. So, I came up with this expression for myself. That's it. Love wins the day. And love for my loved ones, love for the person in front of me, love for that child, that teenager that might not be loving to me, might not be showing me respect, might not be showing me regard, might be actually outputting a whole bunch of crud onto me. But I didn't want to just make a cycle and then me just get upset and put that crud back on them. And then it be this cycle of us just degrading our relationship again and again and again. So I was like, no, around me, the reaction, the upset, the frustration, it's not going to win the day. It might happen. It might be there. It might need time and attention. It might need healing. It might need to, be gotten and seen and heard. It might be needing to be processed, but it wasn't going to win the day. To me, I created love was going to win the day. And for me, love is intactness. That person in front of me, my child, my son, is going to be intact. They don't need to be demeaned. They don't need to be degraded. They don't need to be made wrong for who they are and what they are and the experience that they're having. Like, to me, intactness, leaving someone intact, is love. And if love wins the day, it's not just love for that person out over there, my son, or the person that's in front of me. It's also for me. It's also, I'm clear that if the love for myself and what I need doesn't also win the day, love winning the day outside of myself doesn't have a chance. And that's really where the reverent relationship with myself started to come in and to be built from. Because up until then, I definitely looked at, my internal space and it being the starting point for everything. And, the capacity of love I have for myself is the capacity of love I can have outside of myself. So I did do a lot of work to tend to my own environment. But when it was really, push come to shove and I was faced with some circumstances and the circumstances were winning the day and I was really not happy about that. It was not okay for me. It was like, wow, what needs to happen? What needs to make a difference? And it was this lifeline. Love wins the day. And what is love to me? And I got to take a real close look. What is love to me? And you get to take a look for yourself. What is love to you? What would be loving? What would be meaningful? What would be connected for you inside of what wins the day around you? And so for me, again, it was this idea that the person in front of me that I was dealing with got left intact. They got left, human and full and with compassion and grace. And I give that to myself first and foremost as well. I get left intact. I get left with compassion. I get left with grace. And not like that other person is going to give it to me, because often that other person very much often doesn't give it to me. But am I giving it to myself? Am I gifting myself love for myself, intactness for myself, understanding for myself, compassion for myself? And am I gifting that to the person in front of me? And, some people that, I have talked to about this often will come back with some yeah buts. Well, that person doesn't deserve it. If that person's not being respectful or kind, or, if they're being X, Y, and Z, no, I'm not giving them that. I'm not gifting them love. I'm not gifting them compassion. I'm not gifting them understanding. And fair, you get to say, but I'm just saying, I just know for myself, I know what I want that wins the day. Doesn't mean that person gets to dominate my energy. Doesn't mean that person in front of me even gets access to my energy, because again, the love for myself gets to be included. So what that looked like with, my teenage sons that were not in the space of really treating me well and behaving in a way that is great in any way, shape, or form. It could very understandably poked my buttons and activations and had me activated and triggered and wanting to react. But when I came from this love wins the day, it gave me a place to respond from versus react from. And I got to include myself. I got to be there. Okay, there's this person that I love dearly in front of me. There's this person that this relationship really freaking matters to me. And I want the intactness of our relationship to win the day. I want, love to win the day. I want this human in front of me to know themselves in the best way, shape, or form, but not to also be okay with the behavior that's in front of me, because that doesn't work. So it started to give me room to separate the human that's in front of me that's reacting with their own behaviors and patterns to the actual behaviors and patterns. Like, the behaviors and patterns might not be okay, but that human is freaking great. That human is someone I love. That human is somebody that matters. That human might be dealing with whatever things that I don't even know about, things that I don't even understand, and things that I don't even see or have access to, and might not even be my space to know that, because they also get to have their privacy. So there's that son in front of me dealing with what they're dealing with, reacting or outputting how they're reacting in a way that is not okay for me. For me, as soon as I can connect with love wins the day, I can be, that's a human, that's somebody I care about, that's somebody I love, that's somebody who's dealing with something. I might have my own boundaries that I need to put in, and I might say in that moment, whoa, I get you're upset right now. I get something is not okay for you right now. I love you, And I also love myself, and I need to be treated in such a manner, or I think we need to take space. You can put whatever boundaries need to be put in place, but we don't need to degrade in that moment to let other things like our frustrations and our upset, our annoyances and our grievances win the day. We can still have the opportunity for love wins the day. And the practice of it is not going to be perfect at first. It really, really, really is a practice at first. And when I first created this idea of love wins the day around me, and I was in this environment with a few teenage sons that would have me triggered, activated, and go into a reactional spot where frustration and annoyances were really trying hard and vying for attention and to win the day, I took a look, like, what do I need to be present to the idea that love wins the day? What do I need to even remember? Because I'm clear as soon as they start saying certain things, and oh my gosh, do the people that are close to us know how to push our buttons and know what trigger us and activate us and just want to poke, poke, poke. Those boys, they knew what to say to get me to go like that and to get fiery and feisty. And it's like, I so didn't want that to win the day. So what I did for myself, because again, I know in those moments, I'm going to be flooded. I'm going to be in a reactional space. I'm going to have my very valid emotional response that's happening to that. And my limbic system is just going to be lighting up like a Christmas tree. And my whole nervous system is going to want to go into a reactional space. And so I took a look for myself. What am I going to need to even remember I have this thing called love wins the day that really matters to me, and that I want to give my time, energy, and focus to, and that I am really committed, that honestly and truly wins the day, and understanding I'm in a practice of this, and it's likely not going to win the day right away, and it's something that I might need to grow into and build into and cultivate an environment for me to even learn what does that even look like and how do I even navigate this space. I didn't know how to navigate these really tricky times when, I had a lot of pain in my body and a lot of mental fog and upset, and my emotions weren't overly regulated. I was really sensory sensitive, and my environment often had me react in ways that I didn't want to win the day. And then with these trigger points of my dearly lovely teenage boys in front of me that really were dealing with what they were dealing with, and I was a spot that they were outputting onto, it's like, whoa, what do I need? And so anywhere I could put love wins the day, or love, connection, it wins the day. Anywhere I could put it, I put it. It was on my bathroom mirror. It was on my screensaver of my phone. It was on my computer screen. I even would take permanent marker and write the word love up my arm or on my wrist. Eventually, I got a little bracelet that reminded me of it. I should get it tattooed one day. Love wins the day. But I didn't get to that point. But I covered myself in my environment with touch points and reminders to remind myself, oh yeah, this is what I want to win the day around me. This is going to be the thing that wins the day, or that I'm aiming to win the day. This is going to be my North Star, my compass, my direction point. This is what I am saying I'm going to source from and come from. And that love wins the day, again, includes love for that person outside of me, but also for myself. I need to include love wins the day for me. I need to love myself in this process, have my boundaries, say what works for me. I'm not interested to get walked on or enable poor behavior or patterns, etc. I get to be a strong, grounded space for my children to learn and grow, and for myself to learn and grow. So in that, I covered myself in my environment with touch points of love wins the day, and reminders. So when, my emotional reaction system was activated and my limbic system was going ding, ding, I actually could, at times, not always at first, definitely not always at first, but at times I could have access to remember, oh yeah, this thing called love wins the day. That's what's winning the day around me, not the frustration, not the reaction, not my sensory overload, not my dysregulation, not my upset, not my grievances, not my fears, not my panic. Those things have information. Those things have information for me to process. I might need to step away and be with those things, but around me, intactness, closeness, connection, our relationship, that human and me, we get to be intact, we get to thrive, and we get to flourish. And that's what's going to freaking win the day. Darn it. And my self-determined nature really dug into that and cultivated it again and again and again, this practice and practice and practice of love wins the day. And it was some really tumultuous times there for a couple of years that were pretty heart-wrenching, really heart-wrenching with some of the things that were coming at me and the different circumstances that were going on. And with diligence and with consistency and reliability, I just kept not perfectly, sometimes very imperfectly, coming from love wins the day. Love wins the day. What does love winning the day look like here? What does love winning the day look like here? What does love winning the day look like here? What does love winning the day look like there? And it was a continual growth and pathway, a journey really to this idea of what is love wins the day. And over time, I got to discover for myself what love is for me, what winning the day, love winning the day is for me, and what all are the parts and pieces that get included. And it's a very personal journey. So, the stuff that mattered to me might not matter to you. They might not be your values. They might not be what you want to win the day around you. And they might not be your style and your personality. And you get to say, but I invite you into this idea that you actually get a say of what wins the day around you. It might not always occur like that at first, but you definitely get a say of what you are cultivating and nurturing and investing in wins the day around you. You get to do the work and the investment and the labor into what wins the day around you. And it is so freaking rewarding when you do the work and the labor of what you say wins the day around you, and you start getting some reliability and consistency with that, and to know yourself that you can show up in a way that this thing that's important to you, that's really, really important to your very core of your being and what matters to you most in life, gets to win the day. Oh, it's an experience that I want for everyone. And that's part of the reason I really, for me, my mission in life, I've discovered is I'm really out to have people having these like reverent, beautiful, connected, loving, compassionate relationships with themselves and the people around them and with life, and to love yourself and to love your life and to live your life and to live yourself and to be alive and with and in life. And I find some of the best access to that is when you can have power, you can have freedom of who you are and power to say who you are and to know who you are, and to get that you actually can consciously create your life and your experience. You can't control all the circumstances that happen to you and that happen in life. You can't control all of your environments and the people and all of the things. There's so much that we don't have power in and don't control, but there are a lot of things that we do, and there are a lot of things we have a say in. And you definitely have a say in what wins the day around you, and you definitely have a say in what you're investing into wins the day around you, and what you're in the practice of winning the day around you, as a matter of who you are, as a matter of what you are putting your time, energy, and effort towards. So that's a little bit about what love wins the day to me is, and how it kind of came to be in my life and how it got created. And really, like, through that, on the other side, now I get to be on the flip side, past the jars and upset. And like, it wasn't overnight, but it gave me a place to source from and come from, so I could be intact with myself. So I knew, even if, things didn't change, I knew I was doing everything I could to be the mom that mattered to me, and to be the human that mattered to me, and to stand for the relationship to be intact with closeness and love, and that my children always had access to that love and that connection, even in the face of the not great stuff. So, even when the things still weren't looking, rainbows and roses, it was not for quite a few years. It was really not looking like that. There was a lot of upset and anger and frustration and outputting, but I knew I was showing up to myself. I knew I was showing up to my kids, and I knew I was showing up to the relationship to the truly best of my ability. And And in time, I kept getting stronger, and stronger is not maybe the best word, but more grounded in my footing, and more grounded in my footing, and more birth or reach that I could have to come from. And on the flip side of that, my relationships with those kiddos, they're not kiddos, they're young adults now. They're very heart-centered. Love won the day. Love freaking won the day. And I know it's, not going to be always a perfect life, and there might be still things that show up and things that we get to maneuver and work through. But I am clear that we can, because love can win the day in our relationship. And we've made it through some really dark and rough patches. And those young men got to witness that and got to see what intactness looks like, and what relationship restoration and repair can look like, and what love winning the day can look like, and that we actually do have a say, and even in the face of some really cruddy circumstances, we actually get to have a say. So, I really truly have the experience that my boys know that they were shown up for and shown up to. Even if it was imperfectly, it's not about perfection. They know it's imperfectly. Oh my gosh. They also get to have, forgiveness and compassion and understanding for their mother and for the people around me, which is, and the people around them, which is great skills to learn and to have for life and to develop through. They got to learn how to advocate for themselves, and I got to learn how to advocate for myself. I got to learn about boundaries. They got to learn about boundaries, because when love won the day, it included me and them, and an unknown space that, I don't know the way through this. I don't know the way that you get to, be fully intact, and I get to be fully intact. But you know what? We're committed to that, and we're going to go through that. And when it started, they weren't, necessarily a yes to that space. They were upset about a bunch of things. And I guess where I'm going with that, or where my brain went sidetracked, is it's regardless of the person in front of you, whether they're bought into the idea of love wins the day or not. It doesn't matter where that other person is coming from. It matters where you're coming from. And when I say it too, when I say love wins the day, it's not about an attachment to an outcome. Again, it wasn't like I knew or was attached to a certain outcome or way that it was going to look. In the end, I got that, they might not be wanting to continue the relationship in the way that I would want the relationship, but I knew that somehow there was going to be some form of love and connection involved, and it was going to grow and develop into whatever it was going to grow and develop into. So, there's this idea of you create what's going to win the day around you. And then you release the attachments to all the specifics of what it looks like. You're just in an inquiry of, I don't know what that's going to look like, but this is what's going to win the day. And this is what's going to win the day. And this is what's going to win the day. And I don't know the outcome of it, but I just know that this commitment of mine, it's going to win the day. And because I'm constituting myself as that, I'm actually embodying it and constituting myself as that and showing up to that, and again and again and again, cultivating myself as an environment and as a space for that, as a practice and as a learning, as a growth, that I'm investing it. I'm putting my time, energy, and effort into that. So really, it can't not win the day. It can't not be that. If you are actually putting that kind of time, attention, labor, and effort into it, it will win the day around you. It might take some time. It might take some practice, and it might not show up at all what you thought it would look like. So release your attachments to any ideas of how it should be, or, what you really want it to be. But you do get to say, the experience or the commitment or the values that win the day around you, and then constitute yourself as that and learn and inquire and grow. So maybe that wasn't the clearest message, but that was a starting point for me to talk about love wins the day and this idea of love wins the day. And I invite you into this idea of love wins the day. I find it personally freaking fulfilling and rewarding in my life, and as a place to constitute myself from and to look from. And it also gives me such perspective to be with the people around me in my life and to give them room to be themselves and to give them room to be, the learning, growing humans that are in front of me that have their own pathway, that get to learn, discover, and develop themselves for the sake of themselves. And I get to do that for myself. I get to develop, learn, and grow myself for the sake of myself. And we all get to be in this together. And there's a lot of fulfillment. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of connection. And there's a lot of accomplishment and heartfulness and feel good in your body and nervous systemness that comes from this place of love winning the day. Because there's a real intactness for ourselves that can come from that, where we include ourselves and the people around us. So we feel really great about who we are and how we're showing up. And we feel really free about who we are and how we're showing up. So I do invite you into this idea of love winning the day and cultivating yourself as a space for that, as an inquiry of what does love winning the day look like for you, and including yourself. Love for yourself wins the day, and love for the people around you and your loved ones win the day. And, love for this planet wins the day, and love for the environment wins the day. And you get to say all the ways that love can win the day. And if you're not inspired by this idea of love wins the day, just at least get from this message and this conversation that you do have a huge say in what wins the day around you. And it might not be overnight, and it might not be immediate. And yes, it does take some time, attention, and effort on your part, but it is so rewarding and it is so valuable to discover that you get a real say in what wins the day around you. You get a real say of who you are and where you constitute yourself from, and your favorite self coming out, and your experience mattering, and you getting a say in this experience of life and what you're creating. And you are the conscious creator of your life and have this really great say. So again, you have a say in what wins the day around you. It's a worthwhile investment, a worthwhile effort to take a look at saying, this thing that's important to me, this thing that I want to win the day, I am making sure it happens. I'm putting the touch points around me to remind myself that this is what wins the day around me. This is who I am in that situation. This is how I'm cultivating myself. And it's an inside job. It starts with me. It starts over here where I am in my body, in my mind, in my emotion response system, in my being system and ontological system or spirit system, and in my conscious creator that I am. I get a huge say in what wins the day with me. And it's a practice. I'm not going to be perfect at first. I am going to flounder and fumble, and maybe always will, but I am still going to say, and I am going to show up to again and again what wins the day around me, and experience for yourself how rewarding that is, how heartful that is, and how empowering that is for your very self, and what it gifts you and what it gives you and what it gives the environment around you. You start to get to know yourself as reliable and consistent and grounded from this place of what wins the day around you. And that's an unmessable thing. Some people can't take that away from you. That's yours to have always. So with that, I will leave this here and give up that this was a messy conversation, because I'm loving myself up and love wins the day. And somehow you will hear what resonates perfectly with you in this. And in the future, I might do another video and say it in a more concise, connected way. Anyways, thank you very much for being here. I will see you next time. And for the sake of ourselves, bye.